There goes the lid. That's fine. Live video. A couple of months ago, Meraki sent me a prototype version of their ultimate espresso machine, and I absolutely loved it. Although there were a couple of things that I wished for. I wished that it would have pre-infusion. I wished that some of the interactive parts of the machine were made of metal rather than plastic, and I definitely wished that the group head heated up a little bit more. It was tantalizingly close to being absolutely exceptional. It just lacked in a few different areas. Well, now they've sent me an updated version. In this video, I'm going to try and preempt all of your questions about the ultimate espresso machine by Meraki and answer the big one. Have they pulled it off? Have they made the ultimate home espresso machine? So this is the DVT-1, the version 1 prototype, the original. And this is their version 3. And this one is important because this is very, very close to the actual production unit, the final production unit that will be sent out to all of you backers. I can see immediately that one of my wishes has come true. This plastic paddle is now very much a metal paddle, and it feels so much better, so much more solid. But what about the rest of my wishes? I am going to break this video down. I'm going to break this video down into different sections because I think that this machine deserves it. But before I go any further, who has backed this on Kickstarter? I really want to hear from you. Drop a comment down below. Who else is on the Meraki train? Now, if you haven't heard about this machine, you must live under a rock. Dual boiler, dual scales, rotary pump, dual PID control, stepless grinder co-developed by Timemore, coffee sense technology, 9-bar pressure, pre-infusion. Oh yes. Anti-static ion beam, convertible portafilter, wooden tamping station, tamper, distributor, and everything else that comes with it. All caught up? Right, let's see what this machine is all about. Now, before I give a detailed update on these updates, I want to address what is going to be different between this version 3 prototype and the one that is going to go out to all of you backers. Meraki themselves have said that the differences will be there will be UI updates and tweaks. The finish of the inner group head will improve to provide a smoother lock-in for the portafilter. The metal paddles will be more precise and smooth. Pre-infusion settings may change to create a simpler workflow, and the production version will have an updated water filter with third wave water profiles. Amazing. Bring it on. So this is really close to the final version. So the grinder, right? There's no other way to put this. The grinder is excellent. I have said it before and I'll say it again, it is better than the fellow Opus. So that means it's better than a lot of entry-level home espresso grinders. Could you buy a better separate grinder? Yes, of course you could. But the synergy between the grinder, the scales, the UI, it's really, really great, and it just makes the workflow so much more simple. And now that it's stepless, it's just that much better again. It's very quiet. The lid fits on perfectly. It's lovely and snug, so it doesn't rattle about. The scales below the grinder are great. They're responsive, they're accurate, and I've had no issues with them. And if we jump into the UI and we go to the grinder settings, we've got a couple of different options here. So we can auto grind. You can decide how many grams you want out. So in this case, I've got 18. You can change that if you want to 20, or you can even change the decimal points, so maybe 20.2 grams. Hit OK, hit grind, and the scales is going to read out exactly what progress you've made towards that 20.2, and once it gets to 20.2, it will stop. The other option that you have then is going to manual grind. So you can just hit grind and it'll read out how many grounds have come out, and once you get to your desired number, then you can hit stop. So it's a fully manual process. What's really nice is that if you adjust the paddle on the grinder itself on the screen, you'll see the same readout of where you are in terms of grind settings. One little complaint I have, if it's a complaint, is that when I'm changing on the grinder, I'm not sure exactly where I am between the units. So this has 30 different units, 1 to 30, but I don't know how far between 19 and 20 I am. Am I at, oh, there's 20. If I go back down towards 19, I don't know where I am. Oh, and there it's 19. So maybe if they were able to do a decimal point or something like that, it might be a little bit more helpful, but it's not the biggest problem. The grinder has been really accurate for the entire time that I've been using it, so testing against other scales, I'm getting plus or minus about 0.2 grams here and there, but usually it's right on the money. Grind quality is great. I absolutely love that Meraki have teamed up with Time More, because developing a grinder like this can be really challenging, and making it consistent is even more challenging. So knowing that they've gone to the grinder specialists in this case to help develop this grinder is really reassuring. It's a 38mm conical burr, pretty standard, and in my experience the retention has been really low on this thanks to that ion beam that's built in. I do find myself giving the grinder a little tap on the top just to loosen up any stuck grounds that might be in the chute. And while we're on the grinder, the hopper is detachable, and what I really like is that once you take it off, no beans fall out, and that's thanks to these little doors that exist on the bottom of the hopper. They're on a little spring, and when you unclip it, the doors will close, and when you clip it back in, the doors will then open again. And that is just a really nice little feature, and I think that's very clever. If you're enjoying this video, please hit the like and the subscribe button down below. That's going to really inspire me to continue making videos like this. It makes me feel like I'm doing something right. There's no sponsors or anything, so I'm not going to give you any random product placements. But what I will say is that it was only 1 year ago when I posted my first coffee video to YouTube. And in the space of that year, I have learned so much about coffee, and I've really enjoyed the process of trying out different machines, different grinders, different techniques. I've learned a lot, but I'm not a trained barista. I've never been to coffee school. I just really enjoy coffee and making videos. So here we are a year later, and I cannot believe how quickly this channel has grown. And that's thanks to all of you guys watching. But I know that a lot of you watching are not subscribed, so please do hit the subscribe button. Like I said, it's going to inspire me to continue making videos like this and bring you guys along with me for the journey. Okay, let's talk about the steam unit. It has its own boiler, being a dual boiler system, and that means that it's completely independent of the extraction boiler, which means that you can get your barista feels on and actually steam your milk while your shot is being extracted. But this is also great when it comes to control and consistency. Since this is a separate unit with its own PID control, temperature management is very precise and the steam will last for days. It's a cool touch steam wand, although I'm not sure if you can call this a wand. It's more of a pipe, and on the bottom you have 3 holes, and more importantly a temperature probe. So this little thermometer at the bottom is going to read out the temperature of the milk, display that for you on the screen so you always know where you're at when it comes to your milk temperature. Again, we have a few options for steam on the UI, so if we click into steam, we've got different options from strong, medium, mild, and we can also decide then on the temperature, so we can go down or up or whatever you want. And once you hit OK and play, you can be steaming your milk, and once it gets to the desired temperature that you have inputted, it will stop automatically. Amazing! Now I'll let you guys in on a little secret. Before Meraki had sent me their previous prototype machine, I had never steamed milk before. Not once. So I am literally the world's best example of how easy this machine is to use and how easy it is to get used to and dial everything in, but particularly when it comes to the milk steaming. We're going to make a live coffee in a few minutes, so you guys will see just how simple it actually is. There'll be no cuts, no editing, I'm just going to do it live, but I'll show you exactly how everything works. Now you can go full manual as well if you want with this machine and just use the paddle on the side to turn on and off the steam. And the steam is actually really good dry steam. Dry steam is very important because you don't want any real watery steam going into your milk, because that's going to change the consistency of the milk and the volume of the milk as well. Plus, just using the paddle makes you feel like a pro. Okay, onto the extraction action, the middle unit. So this is where all of our extraction is going to happen. Compared with the version 1, this has been finished so much better, right? I can see immediately that all of the group head, the grinder elements, even the steam arm, they are all polished stainless steel and they look fantastic. One thing that a lot of you were asking for was being able to heat up the group head a little bit more. In the past, it was able to go up to 50 degrees Celsius, and happily now I can say we can go from a range of 30 degrees all the way up to 70 degrees Celsius. Now, some of you are going to say that this is still not hot enough. Well, I'll challenge you to something. Get a portafilter, put it on the top of your kettle and boil some water. Once you've dried off your portafilter afterwards, check the temperature and see where you're at. It's not going to be that much more than 70. The pump runs at a constant pressure of 9 bars thanks to it being a rotary pump. Holy cow, a rotary pump! Yes, a rotary pump. And that's something that you typically find in a commercial espresso machine, and for good reason as well. It really helps with the temperature stability, the pressure stability, but they've managed to get one in here, and it is bloody quiet. In fact, it's so quiet, you almost can't hear it. It's so quiet that if I was to do this and turn it on, I can continue whispering, and when the pump is going, you can still hear me talking. I don't have to raise my voice at all. Amazing. It's so quiet that it makes a vibratory pump sound like a jet engine taking off in a typhoon in the middle of a rock concert while lighting fireworks while mowing the lawn. Whereas this is just like you're doing something lovely and calm, and everything's just very easy and nice. You have a water spout under here as well, which is great for those of you who love Americanos or long blacks. But the title feature here, by far and away, has to be pre-infusion. This is something a lot of you were asking for, and it is very, very welcomed. Welcome to the machine, pre-infusion. How are you? Let's jump back to the screen here because we have a few different options when it comes to the pre-infusion. If we go into settings and we go down here to pre-infusion, we can see that there's a couple of different options. We can see that you can have the pre-infusion simply turned on or off. And once it's on, you can go in and you can select between 3 bars and 4 bars. We can also decide then the pre-infusion time, anywhere from 2 seconds all the way up to 30. So this is how this machine is at the moment. However, Meraki have said that they might make a simplified version of the pre-infusion. We don't know what that's going to look like yet. I guess we're going to have to wait and see what's going to be on the final versions. To me though, I think the more settings, the better. It just means that it's going to be more customizable, and the more customizable it is, the more people are going to be happy. That would be my thought. Wait a minute, what's pre-infusion? I don't understand. Why do I have to pre-infuse my beans? That's confusing. Right, well, the goal of pre-infusion is to saturate your grounds and allow for a bloom. Now, blooming is basically running a little bit of water through the coffee grounds, which creates a sort of bubbling of carbon dioxide, letting that carbon dioxide then escape. And this is important for 2 reasons. Number 1 is that carbon dioxide has a sour taste, so not allowing for a bloom, or pre-infusion in this case, is going to mean your shot will be a little bit more sour. And number 2 is that carbon dioxide actually repels water. So when you're trying to extract all of the solubles like the oils and aromas and everything from your coffee beans, if you allow for a bloom first, it's going to allow the water to extract those aromas and oils better once that carbon dioxide is gone. So that's why pre-infusion is important. Okay, let's look at the accessories, right? Because there's quite a few that come in the box. What comes in the box is, you get a 58ml portafilter with this lovely wooden handle. You get a 58ml Meraki basket, you get a distributor, you get a tamper, you get a magnetic dosing cup, you get a milk pitcher, you get a cleaning brush, you get a backflush basket, and you get a cleaning cloth. I think I've covered all of it there. And now it comes with this absolutely lovely wooden tamping station. Not that the last tamping station wasn't nice, but I prefer the wooden one. Which one do you prefer? Let me know in the comments down below. The wooden one or the black one with the kind of secret hidden away storage compartment? Let me know. The tamping station fits the tools absolutely perfectly to the nearest millimeter. But it's worth noting here that the Meraki tools are exactly 58 millimeters. Now, if you had a set of the Normcore tools as well, these are 58.5. Which means if you try to get the Normcore one into the tamping station, it doesn't quite fit. And that's a little bit disappointing. However, Meraki have said that they will be drilling out the holes just a teeniest bit more so that it will allow these other tools to fit in there as well. The portafilter is absolutely great. I really love this portafilter. It's got a really nice walnut handle now. It's heavy, it's solid, it's finished really well, it looks and feels great. And you also get your spout attachment, which just clips on with a gasket and stays perfectly in place. So now you've got the best of both worlds, right? You've got spouted and you've got naked. Naked. The option to have the spouted or naked is absolutely wonderful. And there's a lot of machines out there, much more expensive machines, that are shipping out these kind of dual 2-in-1 portafilters with plastic attachments. La Marzocco. Not here, all metal, which is great. However, one slight annoyance that I have, not just with the portafilter but with the machine as well, is that the ears on this are not the typical E61 style ears. So they've kind of developed their own version of this. These ears are much thicker than you'd find on, say, the Flair 58 portafilter or any other E61. It just means that if you do have another portafilter lying around, you will not be able to use it with this machine, or you will not be able to use this portafilter with any other machine. But when you've got a portafilter that's this nice, maybe you don't need to swap it out. What you can swap out is baskets, happily. So if we take out that basket, we can pop in my VST basket and yep, fits. Okay, let's touch on the UI, or the screen now, the bit that we interact with. And I don't want to get too gushy here, but I think I'm in love with the screen. The best way to put it is that it's basically a smartphone. It's just as responsive. The colors are good. The brightness is good. The color contrast is good. It's just a really lovely screen. And it's not overly complicated either. Everything is kind of just there at your fingertips in its own sort of sub menu. So you can see at the front here, we've got grind menu, steam menu, brew menu. All of these are just relating to their individual elements on the machine. It's just kept very simple, and I really like that. I am just going to touch on the settings real quick because I think it's worth noting what's in here. First, you've got Wi-Fi. So when you turn the machine on the first time, you're going to be prompted to input your Wi-Fi network and your Wi-Fi password. And the reason you want to do this is so you can download software updates over the air. You can set preheat times, so if you have a predictable schedule, you can set this to turn on maybe 15 minutes before you typically want your coffee, so that it's warm and ready to go once you do want your coffee. You've got your hot water menu, so if we click into this, we're going to see what temperature the water's at and hit go, and water will come out from the spout. You've got your scales, so you can use that as a standalone scale then as well. And if we just take the portafilter and pop it on there, we've got 29.4, let's say. And if we take another scales here, tear it out, 29.5, 29.4. So very accurate. If we come back, then we have our bean reset button. I'll come back to that in a minute. And then at the top, we've got our backflush tutorial, or step-by-step guide on what you need to do to keep this machine clean. Brilliant. So in our kind of just standard settings setting, we've got Wi-Fi, we've got date and time, temperature units, temperature of the group head, like I said, can go from 30 all the way up to 70. We've got your pre-infusion settings, sound volume, brightness, language, and factory reset. So all the standard things that you'd expect to find in settings. Now, one other cool thing about this machine is that you have something called Coffee Sense technology built into it. And what that is basically an RFID reader on the top of the machine that you could theoretically drop a bag of beans onto if it had an RFID tag on it. And it will give you profiles of that particular bag of beans as to what way they think that it should be ground, what temperature it should be run at, and it'll give you more information then about the beans themselves. For example, what region they're from, what the roast date was, all of that sort of information. Great idea. I just think we might be waiting a while for roasters to get on board with this. Okay, let's do it. Let's make a coffee. I'm going to do this completely live, no cuts, no editing, and we'll see what we end up with. So let's go up to our menu and go to grinder. We're going to do auto grind. It's already in at 18 grams and I'm set at the unit 20. So let's go for it and hit grind. You can see that while it's grinding, we've got a readout of the progress of the grounds as they're going. And we get to the end and it's giving me 17.8. Give it a little tap, 17.9. So that's fine. Now the grounds coming out of this have been really fluffy and very consistent, which I'm very impressed with actually. So let's pop them into our portafilter. The dosing cup is not only magnetic, but it's also a 58ml dosing cup. So it fits perfectly onto the portafilter. Give it a quick shake, shaky shake. and we can pop that back in there. If anyone's ever tried to make espresso the wrong way around, it's kind of disorientating. Anyway, so we can put our portafilter into its portafilter holder. We can use our distributor, give it a few spins, and then we can tamp away. Give it a good tamp. Very difficult to do sitting down, but that's that. And we have our hook. I'm going to pop the spouts on, and then we can lock it in to the group. Now, this machine is literally a couple of days old, so yes, it's still a little bit tight getting the portafilter in, but it's much looser than it was even just a couple of days ago, so it does need a bit of time to break in. All right, let's get my cup. Obviously, you're gonna need a cup. And we can go in now to our brew menu, and I've got it set at 92 degrees Celsius and 36 grams out. If you wanted to, you could go in here and you can go all the way down to 25, 24. I think the lowest it'll go to is, brew weight is 10 grams is the lowest, and it'll go all the way up to 99. That's a big shot. But we're gonna go back to 36, and we're gonna hit OK, and then play. So you can hear the pre-infusion going there. I've set it up for about 4 seconds, and now you can hear the pump going. And we've got coffee. In the meantime, I'm gonna get my milk out. There goes the lid, that's fine. Live video. And we're gonna put in about 6 ounces or 100 and so of milk. Leave that down there. Purge out the steam wand. And then, this is really weird to do this from this angle. And we can start steaming. And we can see the steam readout on the screen as well, which is great. So we're gonna aim for about 60 degrees. No more of this touching off the milk jug and burning yourself. Okay, and we get to 60 degrees. Where did my... Need my trusty Meraki cloth so that we can clean off our portafilter. Purge it out. And then we've got our espresso, we've got our milk, and keep in mind, I've only started steaming milk in the last couple of months. So let's give this a go. Concentration. All right. Not exactly the most symmetrical of latte art, but you get the idea, right? And that was it. It took me, what, less than 5 minutes to make a very nice latte. That is how easy this machine is to use. Keeping in mind, like I said, I had never steamed milk before getting this machine. And being able to do now just a 3-leaf or whatever it's called, to me that's amazing. I mean, I always put the latte art people onto such a high pedestal that it was a pro thing to be able to do. You needed to be a trained barista. But here I am, only a couple of months into pouring latte art, and it's looking like that. The milk is silky, really nice silky milk. And, well, I suppose we should taste it, shouldn't we? Let's give it a go. Very nice. Now, I probably should have taken the beauty shots of the coffee before taking a sip out of it, but you'll get the idea. Now, there's a lot of other all-in-one coffee machines out there. I'm looking at you, Breville, Sage, whatever you're called. They came out recently with the Oracle Jet, and I think a lot of people are going to see that as a competitor to the Meraki, but I'm not so sure. The Oracle kind of reminds me of a gas station coffee machine, you know, where it displays the pictures of what you want and then you click on the picture and it sort of does its thing. Here's how I look at it. What would you rather, as the consumer, to pay $2,000-ish, let's just round it up, $2,000-ish on an espresso machine that's designed as an espresso machine, or to spend $2,000 on something that's been designed to do a lot of things, all the way from cold brew to filter to espresso, even tea? I'm just not quite bought into that. To me, the Oracle Jet is sort of aimed at a market where everything's sort of relatively affordable. And if we think about the R&D and development that goes into these kinds of machines, I think I would far rather invest my money into the Meraki when I know that it's so specifically tailored to espresso versus the Oracle Jet, which does a lot of things. I mean, an espresso machine that has purposely added a tea setting? That would infuriate me. If I want tea, I just buy a kettle and some tea bags. I mean, that's kind of the proven way of how you make tea for decades. Put it another way, I love cars. I drive a Golf GTI because I love the driving experience of it. It's also accessible and easy to use while it's still focused very much on the joy of driving. Whereas I see the Oracle Jet as more of a Tesla. It does a lot of other things with its tech in the background, but it kind of detaches you from the actual process of making coffee, or in this case, the Tesla taking you away from the joy of driving. The best way I could describe it is, with the Meraki machine, you still need to know and understand espresso, whereas with the Oracle Jet, you press a button and you get espresso. In my eyes, the Meraki is designed to do one thing, and it does that one thing really, really well. And what's interesting is that Meraki is a new name in the espresso world, and they decided, let's do this. And they did go and do it. They did make it happen. And I'm sure there were a lot of hurdles along the way, ups and downs, but here it is, and it's sitting here in front of me as an example of what can be done when you think a little bit outside the box. A critique manufacturer building something so impressive and going alongside, you know, the old hats of Breville and Sage, DeLonghi, even some of the more higher end machines, it's really quite impressive of what they've been able to pull off here. This was never going to be an easy task. But the fact that it's sitting on people's coffee bars all around the world now should make us, the espresso lovers, really, really excited for what's going to come in the future. They call this the ultimate espresso machine. And now I believe it. It really is the ultimate home espresso machine at this price point for sure. So who's this machine for? Like I said, it's for an espresso lover, for someone that wants to understand espresso, whether you're starting off on your journey of espresso or you're a little bit more mature in your journey. If you're starting off, you can use the auto features on this. And if you're a bit more mature in your journey, you can use it in full manual mode. You can decide how you want to use this machine. Even if you're a complete coffee nerd and you want to play with all of the different parameters, yes, this machine is for you. Now, it lacks certain things like output data, for example, being able to see pressure curves or being able to change the pressure profiles. It doesn't have a flat burr grinder, which would be typically used for lighter roasts. So it's not for everyone, but it's for most people. I think it's sort of sitting in its own little consumer bracket. I've heard of people with Lilith Biancas who have stopped using them because of the ease of use of this machine. And that must mean that they're getting pretty close to the same results as they get with that Lilith Bianca, just meaning that this is a little bit easier to use. It's 1,800 euros or $1,800 or whatever it is in the currency of where you are. It's expensive, but let's dissect that a bit. What could you get for that same money? You can buy a Breville or a Sage in a high street department store, so they're top of mind for a lot of people out there. And to me, that kind of just devalues the product. I don't really want the same machine that my neighbor has who doesn't know anything about espresso. They just want to press a button and they don't really care. They're willing to spend $2,000 on it. I don't want to be associated with that consumer bracket. Now, the alternative options are absolutely endless. You could go with a separate system where you can get a separate grinder, a separate espresso machine, and so on. There are a few other all-in-one espresso machines out there. The list is endless. And that's what's so exciting about espresso, is the amount of options out there. But none of the options will be as easy and as focused as this one. So in my eyes, in my honest and unreserved opinion, yes, they have done it. They have made the ultimate espresso machine for the home. If you want the control and the ease of use all in one machine while valuing the development that's gone into this and the results that you're going to get out of it with a little bit of work, then go for it. You will not be disappointed. And my last thing to point out here is how Meraki have been so supportive, so responsive through this entire journey of me testing out the machines and making videos for you guys. There are a lot of testers out there that have these machines on their espresso bars, and I've heard not one bad thing about Meraki through this entire process. Long video, but we got there in the end. I really hope this has answered all of your questions about this machine. If I haven't answered all of them, please do ask the question down below. Subscribe, like, comment, do all of those things. Engage with me, because I've been using these machines now for the last couple of months and I think I know most things about them. So until next time, thank you for watching and I'll see you in the next video.